Mr. Golds, what will your office do here in Dallas?
We will procure printing for all federal agencies in this region. It is not a printing office, it is a procurement office to work with commercial contractors, purchasing printing from these contractors. This region will consist of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana.
Not at this time.
How would you approach the City Hall problem?
I think some things that have happened lately have indicated rather graphically that having various departments scattered all over the city is very inefficient. I really don't believe that this is Scott McDonald and his people's fault. I think that certainly there is a geographical factor involved here that must be consolidated and be brought back together. The question becomes, do you want that city hall and that design?
The search headquarters is being moved from Carswell Air Force Base to Little Rock Air Force Base in Arkansas. Most of the 20 aircraft now committed to the search are of the C-130 class, and Carswell simply is not geared to maintain them. They're normally stationed at Little Rock, and it's cheaper to service them there. This matter of cost is becoming of some serious importance in the search for the missing FB-111. I've tried for 2 days to get someone to answer questions which I consider rather basic. How could the 111 have dropped from radar contact when it was transponder equipped? It was, after all, only the third time the plane had been in the air. Who takes responsibility for not making certain that it stayed within radar range? At this point, no one is willing to take that responsibility or even to point a finger. The cost of the search is mounting. The taxpayers are shelling out more money than any of us will ever know, just trying to find a plane which should never have been lost in the first place. Other questions. What about a detailed flight plan? Does it make sense to send up an airplane, particularly one with the troubled reputation of the F-111, on a flight without knowing exactly where it's going and exactly what it's going to do? Nobody will answer my question, was a flight plan in detail filed? And if one was filed, why didn't it serve the purpose for which a flight plan is designed? Should the system perhaps be changed? And one final question. In view of the fact that the airplane obviously could be lost from radar contact, and whether a flight plan was filed or not, obviously that did not serve the purpose of keeping up with the airplane, then why was not a chase plane sent along with the FB-111? Would it not have been a lot cheaper and a lot simpler to send another plane along to observe its flight during this acceptance flight than to pay the cost of flying 20 search planes now to try to locate the plane? And one final point. There are a lot of high-ranking people here at Carswell Air Force Base who are really wondering where that plane actually went. Jerry Taft, Channel 8 News on the move at Carswell Air Force Base in Fort Worth.
With Lynn Crossley and the other people in the city departments.
Can you see an increase in either the sales tax or a value-added tax?
No, I would not. No, I certainly would not. I think the taxes that have to be that have to come should be luxury taxes.
Well, I would say so. After our last encounter in Fort Worth, I think we can approach that game just a little bit different than we would Omaha Knights.
Tell us the difference between the Knights and the Wings.
Well, the Knights are a very well-balanced team. They have a strong goaltender and a strong defense corps, and their forwards are, most of them are experienced, and their young draft choices are of very talented. So they have a very well-balanced hockey team.
Is Fort Worth a more physical club than Omaha?
No, I wouldn't say so. I would say they're both about equal as far as physical is concerned. I think that we should be the physical club in the league, and this is what's been one of our problems lately. We haven't been as physical as we had earlier in the year, and when you're skating and hitting, and sure you're going to take penalties, this is going to be the key and the success to your rise in the standings.
Well, do you think the last game over there is going to cause any kind of an emotional peak Saturday night?
Well, I think so. I just hope that our players aren't looking towards Saturday night and forgetting about Friday night, which is a very important game to us. I think that we must take them a period at a time and a game at a time, and I think that we should look for Omaha first and Fort Worth next. As I said before, I think to some of the newspapers that I shouldn't have to say a great deal to my fellows at our game meeting on Saturday about our Fort Worth game after the resounding defeat that they handed us in Fort Worth, and it was a physical game in more ways than one, and I think that they're ready and prepared for Fort Worth, and I just hope that I can convince them that they must be prepared for Omaha first.
I don't believe so. I think the Treasury government will continue policies very similar to the DSO-DAS administration and to previous administrations. I think there'll be a lot more dynamic approach and a lot more effort, particularly in the rural sector, to bring the campesino more into the national economy. I don't think there will be any marked change.
Is the Communist Party growing in Latin America as you see it?
Well, I'd rather restrict myself pretty much to Mexico, because that's the country I know, and of course there the Communist Party plays a very small role and is not increasing.
I know you all are wondering why I've called you here today, and it is my pleasure to take this occasion to announce for mayor in the April 6th election.
Mr. Wise, will you seek the endorsement of either the CCA or the CRG?
I would like to have the endorsement of any organization, providing, of course, it's not really radical in nature. Yes, I would accept the endorsement of either the CRG or the CCA. However, let me emphasize, I would not run on either of their tickets.
Do you have a preference of the two groups?
No, I have not. I would like to have them both.
What do you see as sources of revenue for the city of Dallas in the future?
As sources of tax revenue?
Yes.
That I really don't know at this time. The one thing that I mentioned a moment ago, I think that type of thing is going to have to be pursued, such as the nickel on the mixed drink and so forth. I don't think the garbage tax is a good one, because I feel this is really a cover-up sort of thing.
Civilizations die and are buried, covered by the shifting sands of time, lost in the ages of antiquity. And yet, what this building shall house, the great collections, the words of man recorded, will survive through all the ages to come, to help future generations understand our times, our people, our problems, and hopefully profit by our mistakes, in order that future generations might be able to mold and to build and to pattern a better way, a better life, a better means of living one with another